Hi, welcome to the last session in our series called Good News for All, where we're looking at the gospel. Hey, let's do a quick recap, shall we? We've been looking at the lens of these sort of four very epic values, human values, right? In light of the gospel. So, with justice, we looked at the gospel having the power to transform the heart, which is at the core of human injustice. In our truth section, we looked that we discovered that faith in Jesus is actually a conclusion that you arrive at, not a blind faith. In fact, it is a public truth. That means it is a truth that can be verified by the public, and it is a truth for the public. In our last session, we looked at love. And all of us have the right to be loved. We're actually already loved by our Creator. And part of why the gospel is the good news is we get to tell other people that their Creator loves them. So then finally, we get to the concept of freedom. Galatians 5 verse 1 says this: "For freedom, Christ has set us free. Stand firm, therefore, and do not submit again to a yoke of slavery." Let's clear up some misconceptions about freedom, all right? Let's just have a quick discussion about freedom. Freedom isn't the ability to do whatever you want. That's not freedom. You might think, oh, I just want to be free. I want to do whatever I want. But freedom is a little bit more nuanced than that. Let's look at the example of a fish. Okay? So what you have to understand is a fish is the freest in water. If a fish were to, jump out of the water and land on the surface, it's definitely free to do that. But once it lands on the surface, it's not that free, is it? So, this dynamic happens because even though we as humans have free will, we are not all powerful. Okay, surely I do not have to persuade anyone that we are not all powerful. Okay, we don't have to prove that we're not all powerful. It's quite obvious that humans are limited. All right? We are created beings, and we are limited by the rules of our creation. That means we are not free to hold our breath for an hour. But we're not free to do that. We'll die. So just like the fish, there are decisions in life that while we are free to choose them, while we have free will, there are decisions in life that lead to the loss of freedom. Or, if you want to use Bible language, that lead to slavery. Okay? Gambling, addiction, or even things as basic as jealousy, bitterness, unforgiveness. These things, they shackle us. Sin, which is the Bible's term for it, enslaves us, and it reaps us. Its reward is death. God's ways, though, let's call it, godliness, right? Is for us to live actually a full life. That God's plan, while it might seem like there are all these rules, they're actually to make us live life to the full. But who can be godly? Who can be perfect themselves? We inherently know that we will be better when we let go of bitterness. We know we're going to be better if we get rid of unforgiveness. We know if we just stop the addiction, if we just stop the anger and the rage. But, oh my goodness, can we do it? That's why I love this definition of the gospel that we're going to be talking about in church, but also in our next series. It goes like this: the gospel is the good news that God became man in Jesus Christ. He lived the life we should have lived, meaning that he lived the godly life. He lived the life that God preferred us, planned for us, prepared for us to live. One that is doing good for people in the world. That's why when people hear about Jesus, they've actually got no problems with Jesus and his life. He was a good man. He lived the life that we should have lived without sin. But then he died the death that we should have died. Because in our place, because we were the ones with sin, we were the ones who couldn't actually live a godly life. In our place, 3 days later, so this is where it's a verifiable historical truth. 3 days later, he rose from the dead, proving that he is the Son of God. Because honestly, who else could do this? And offering the gift of salvation and forgiveness of sins to those who repent and believe in him. That's why it's so important to have the gospel message go out. Because only the gospel allows us to have forgiveness of sins. Forgiveness of sins allows us to get away from the shackle of the very thing that enslaves us. Do you love your friends, your neighbors, your family members? Then I think you need to ask this question. Who can truly set them free? Who is it who can really, really set them free? That's why the gospel is good news for all. I hope you have a good discussion today about what it means to have actual freedom. God bless.